Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Duke Robinson Presents Unplugged. This is the G.O.A.T edition. And today we've got Michael Brady. We've got Justin.
Boom.
And we've got, seems to be Chicago Bulls. We're looking at a person that believes Jordan is the GOAT. We got Tristan.
Hey, man, I'm just letting you know where I'm coming from right off the bat. You know.
Listen. We've all watched The Last Dance. We've all seen it. This has brought up some great debates, some great conversation. A lot of people are digging back up the past. We're looking at Jordan. Kids are seeing Jordan in a different light because they've only heard his name. They've never seen the airness play. So they've got to witness some greatness. But of course, You've got new school. You've got LeBron James. You've got Kobe that was in a part of Jordan's era and then made a name for himself. And then you've got people like Paul Pierce, who says that LeBron's not in his top 5. So for me, guys, I want to understand from your own perspective, do you put LeBron over MJ and Kobe? Is he past those players, Mike?
You know what? I think we got three LeBron haters against one right now. So I'll let you all go first.
Well, I mean, if that's what you're saying, I just want to correct you immediately. I'm not a LeBron hater per se, but when we talk the GOAT conversation, it seems like if you're not for one, you're for the other. So, I mean, I'm not mad that you look at it that way because I'm definitely for Jordan in this debate. But I just want to put it out there from the very beginning. This debate, to me, should not diminish LeBron's skills in any way, his skill set, how he's impacted the game. We are just simply discussing GOAT status, which is a big deal in the world of the NBA. So, I mean, I rate LeBron's game. Duke, you might co-sign me on this. I actually try to do LeBron-ish type things on the court, so I recognize where, right? So I recognize what he offers the game.
Yeah, and that's also the perspective.
All right.
Once you're in the debate of the GOAT, no matter where you finish off, it's never a disrespect. Because if your name is being brought up, that's a in itself is a acknowledgement right there that you're one of the best. We're talking about it, right? So no matter where
I'll say this. A lot of the times, and we brought this up before, you've heard it every day. Michael Jordan has 6 championship rings. He's 6-0. Right? So a lot of times people just go by the number and they go by the rings, right? And you can go by stats. You can go by percentages. You can go by, what LeBron has done, how his longevity. And we can never deny his longevity. Like he's been top level for many years, right? So I don't want to just go by the numbers. I just want to hear from the heart. Like, where do you guys put? And we have to mention the honorable Kobe B. Bryant as well. Like, where do we put these?
Oh yes. Okay, so here's what I'll say.
Mike, you gotta raise your hand. This ain't school, teacher.
Okay, I just want to start. I'll start it off by this, because this is you guys are either going to agree with this or not, and that will spark the debate. Because of what you just said, Duke, because there are so many criteria, in my mind, we have to break it down into criteria. So my 5 criteria are longevity, accolades, personal accolades, winning, obviously, and legacy. Sorry, that's 4, but I only really have 4. But legacy and how you've impacted the game, both on and off the court. For LeBron, it could be a school. He opened. For Jordan, it could be a $1 billion company. That's pretty much, the biggest shoe company.
He took Nike ever. from the dumps to greatness. So we all know that.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I think we do have to touch each category. We might have some time constraints, but we got to touch on winning. We got to touch on personal accomplishments, longevity, and we got to touch on game impact. Okay. If anyone wants to add to those criteria, for sure. But I think there's no way we could discuss the GOAT without breaking it down, like micro. You got to micromanage it. Like,
okay, so if I go with accomplishments, then I go, okay, MVPs. Jordan's got 5. LeBron, I guess he's still playing. He's got 4.
Kobe got 1.
Okay, Kobe's got 1.
Okay, you know what? To make the accomplishments a long story short, there's only one of these 3 players that have a Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate setter aparter. Whatever word you want to use, that to me is what separates it. that one defensive player of the year.
Well, okay. So hold up. There is defensive player of the year, but there is first team as well, right?
Absolutely.
Because you gotta understand, like a lot of the times when you have MVPs, like the one stat that is kind of undisputable is scoring title, right? Because that's basically set on your average, right, of what you're scoring for the year. But think about the year Mark Gasol got Defensive Player of the Year, right? And if I'm not mistaken, am I right?
Yeah, 2012. I think he got it once.
Yeah, he got it once.
Yeah, he got it one time. But the dude did not make the first team all defensive.
Right. Okay.
So how does that happen? Right? How does that happen? Right? So, but I mean, if you look at like, and this is the thing, Kobe Bryant, we know, like me personally, LeBron passed Kobe Bryant when Kobe was in the league. Okay, even despite Kobe's rings, right? My view, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that like Kobe should also have more MVPs, but you and I know why he didn't get those because of Colorado, right? These are the things that held him back from getting those MVPs.
It's a little more than that, a little bit more than that, but yeah.
That's a completely different
podcast. But Mike, we can say the same thing though.
LeBron James should have MVP for the past 8 years.
Okay. So to address that, right? LeBron is always in contention for MVP. There's no question. But in the past 8 years, it's arguable that there have been other impact players that have meant more to their team, right? And once again, that doesn't take away from what LeBron does for his team. But like, for example, the year Giannis got it, I think that was pretty well deserved, right? He was by far the most important. He was the most important player for his team that year, hands down. He's the reason they went as far as they did. Obviously, you need your team and the role players to do all that. But we're talking MVP. We're talking one guy. And that's just an example of in the last 8 years why LeBron didn't get it every year. We all know he's top 3 in voting every single year. That's not even a question. You said something at the beginning of what you said. Oh, I can't even remember it, but I wanted to address it. Anyway, someone else go ahead.
Gasol.
Oh yes.
So we're looking at NBA All Defensive Jordan 9 times in his career.
9 times. Tied for most ever. That's tied for most ever.
LeBron James 6. Again, he's still in the league, but it's fair to say LeBron James's defensive ability has dropped dramatically.
Like he looks whether by choice or not.
You got to look at it like this too. You especially look at the last Cleveland Cavaliers team. You look at the last Laker team, right? Before with all those young guys on there and whatnot. I mean, I can almost not blame him, right, for saving himself at 30 plus and expecting those young boys to step up defensively when he's being asked so much of him. He's asked to facilitate the offense. He's asked to, basically see the defensive scheme on the floor, right? He's got a lot of work to do on the floor, right? Whereas I see Jordan and Kobe more so their main goal and mission was to score, right? LeBron is basically the coach on the floor.
And don't forget, Kobe and Mike, they were both players who played both ends of the court. When Kobe went against T-Mac, Paul Pierce, you name him, he covered him, and I still dropped 30. I still dropped 40. So that's
yes.
I separate Mike and Kobe because they did it on both ends.
Both ends.
Time.
Okay.
At me, I'm coming.
And they always defended the best player.
Okay. So to this point, now I'm going to pose a question. A lot of the things I'm going to do tonight are questions. I'm going to pose questions. Who is a better one-on-one defender? Because in my opinion, I feel LeBron is an elite help defender, which includes the chase down blocks.
Yeah.
If we're talking one-on-one, I'm hiking up my shorts and getting in my defensive stance at the top of the key against you, Allen Iverson, or against you, whoever. We all know LeBron isn't that guy.
Yeah, for sure.
No. Yeah, no, I'll agree. Like, I mean, there's hits and misses, right? I mean, if anyone's gonna pick you up at the halfway point, I more so see Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant doing something like that, right?
Right.
I think the problem where we all run into with this is really we've been spoiled, right? We Generation Xers and a bit, the generation after, we've been spoiled. Whereas we got Michael Jordan, we saw a lot of greatness in sports, and then we got Kobe Bryant right after. And my first words when I saw Kobe Bryant was, I never thought in my lifetime I would see another Michael Jordan again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now we got this guy who really came into the league when I didn't understand what I was seeing when I'm watching basketball as a little youth, right? We got a guy in LeBron James that he's really more like Magic Johnson than he is a killer like Michael Jordan. So when we start to compare the eye test, right, it's like, okay, yeah, well, he doesn't play like Jordan. He doesn't play like Kobe Bryant. He's not a killer. But Magic would kill you in different ways on the floor, right? Magic would lock up all 5 positions, right? Magic would facilitate the ball. Magic would draw the defense towards them and then dish that way and have trust in his teammates. I find LeBron James's game is far more like Magic. So whenever I have this comparison, we are in essence comparing an apple and an orange. They're both sweet. They're both nutritious. They're both good for us, but they're gonna taste different. They both look different, right?
Okay, so
that's how I kind of see it. But in a GOAT conversation, we still got to compare them, though, right?
Right. So here's the thing, and this is why I left style off my list of criteria, because stylistically, it's really hard to compare, right? But there are certain things like apples and oranges. We can agree there are certain things that they share in similarity, whether it be, nutrition facts or healthy this and that. We have to really pinpoint the areas that we can compare them on, where they both have numbers or they both have tangible things to show, right? So style, and I agree with you. I'm only saying this because I agree with you. Stylistically, they're not comparable. We can't compare them. We all know stylistically the closest person to Jordan ever is Kobe Bryant. Exactly. But that also, at the same time, doesn't speak on accolade or any of the other criteria. So I chose to leave style off the list for that very reason, to your point.
Yeah. So just hold on. I mean, Tristan, let me ask you guys all this question. When you look at both LeBron, Kobe, and Jordan, I'm going to ask you this to answer this as individuals for each player. Mm-hmm. What is LeBron's weakness? Does he have any?
Great question.
What is LeBron's weakness?
His weakness is his lack of killer instinct. If I'll go first, is his lack of killer instinct. Because imagine LeBron and everything he has in his package with a killer instinct. It's crazy. It's almost unimaginable.
Okay, hold that thought. Justin, what's his weakness? What's LeBron's weakness?
LeBron's weakness is in between game. He's a downhill player. So if I'm going, I'm unstoppable. And he's developed into the in between game, but he doesn't have that game where he imposes himself like a Kobe and Mike. I use that post game. He doesn't have that game where it's like, if I'm not running you and getting these easy buckets, where am I else getting it? Sometimes he's streaky on the threes or whatever, he gets it going, but he doesn't have that game where I'm still going to get a bucket regardless, even if I'm not going downhill. Okay. That's how I look at it.
Cool. Mike, what's LeBron's weakness? And I know this is your boy. What's his weakness?
Yeah, I got to disagree with. I see what Justice saying about the downhill game, especially in transition. When you got the ball, he's excellent at running the train. You don't want to get in front of that. I really see his weakness being his free throws. Okay. Right?
Oh, yeah. Good point. Good point.
It's his free throws. It's his free throws for me.
Yeah.
I just think he does not have, in the last, I'd say 5 years especially, he has not exhibited that or exuded that confidence at the line, especially in late game situations. To touch on your point, Tristan, about him imposing his will, again, I think we're seeing that stylistic type of thing. If you look at what he did in certain games in the final, where he, like Kyrie taking that shot, for example, right? And people class that as the game winner, or the Miami Ray Allen shot as the game winner. They saved LeBron. But when you look back, like in 2K, when you go back and you look at the plays and the buckets that were made for both games for the past, like I think it's about 2 to 3.5 minutes, LeBron was racking up points, getting them within striking range. So he does impose his will. Again, it just looks different.
And to his defense, I'll also say that his last 3 finals in Cleveland, that's where I was like, now you're worthy to be in that conversation, because those are 3 of the greatest finals individually that I've ever seen. So I was like, now you're
okay.
Now
okay.
you're
Hold on. My next question is,
hold on. Before you move to the next question,
I got to do this in sequence.
Okay.
What is the GOAT? Because I'm gonna call him the GOAT. What is MJ's weakness? Tristan, go ahead.
Okay. Man, MJ's weakness was probably, and once again, this isn't a weakness to me, but it's probably the only thing that was wrong with. I can't even use the word wrong. It's the only thing that people might not agree with him on, and that was his way of leadership. I mean, the documentary highlights, and mind you, this doesn't have anything to do with his game on the floor. I'm just trying to nitpick. I'm trying to find something because I truly don't know.
So if we go on this game on the floor, what's his weakness on the game on the floor? As a basketball player, his talent, what is his weakness? Forget the leadership, because everybody leads different.
Right. His weakness on the floor, I'm going to go ahead and say I don't think he has one. Now, I just want to say, going back to LeBron, the free throws, I mean, I probably could have said something better. And the one thing that I'll correct in terms of LeBron's weakness, because we touched on so much accurate things, is his one-on-one ability to get by somebody. And that goes to the second point that was made, by Justin. The point that Justin made in regards to him only being able to score downhill, I somewhat agree with that. And that gets exposed when there's a defender in front of him that can actually defend him, which is very few people. But he can't break guys down. So going back to Jordan now, especially if we're going to talk about weaknesses, I don't think he has any, because we're talking about LeBron's weaknesses, and it's given me a moment to try and figure out if Jordan has any comparatively. And I don't think he really does. Free throws, he could get by anybody.
So let me stop you right there. Justin, what's Jordan's weakness? Do you have any?
Yeah, he was pretty complete. I would say his biggest weakness that I could even try to pinpoint would probably be I don't even want to say that the lack of a 3-point shot, because the game was so different back then that it wasn't required.
Right.
But theoretically, that's probably the only tangible weakness that you could say, that he didn't have that in his arsenal, but he never had to use it.
And statistically, Jordan only took about 1.8% of 3-pointers per game.
Yeah,
but different era.
I saw a stat the other day where they showed you you look at James Harden, all these guys, their best scoring year, and then look at his scoring year, and it's like, I got no threes on there, and I'm killing you, So that could just, that Tristan just said, there is not many weaknesses in Jordan's game, so that's the closest thing I could come up with.
Okay, Mike, Jordan's weakness.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Justin, but only because the game has changed. Like now, when you see James Harden, Steph Curry, Trae Young, you see these guys really they're 3-point marksmen and specialists, right? And Jordan wasn't necessarily that, except for that shrug game in the Portland series, right?
And this is what I was gonna bring up. Go ahead. I'll go after you.
I mean, outside of that, like I remember as a kid watching that game, and I was like, what, the box side? He's licking trees now? Like, what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? You didn't see Jordan like that. And it's a component that came and went for him. I don't think from what I remember, he wasn't necessarily a marksman. So if anything, I would say it's a 3-point. But again, like Justin said, the game has changed so much now, right? Like we romanticize ourselves with the sport. We love this, right? We look back on what we saw and how it made us feel. And then, I mean, over the past couple of years, I've really had to kind of look back at old tape on YouTube, and I'm like, the game was pretty different.
Yes, really different.
Pretty different.
So if I can, before we jump in to another area, can I just ask you guys, what is Kobe's weakness? And I'll start with you, Tristan.
Wow. Kobe's weakness. Jeez.
He's not LeBron. That's what it
is. You know what? If we're gonna really compare stylistically Jordan or Kobe to Jordan, and the fact that he modeled his game after Mike, and he did a good job in doing that. I'm going to go ahead and say that his weakness, to Justin's point, also might have been his three-point shot, which he ended up getting a grasp on in the last few years of his career. I just want to also say with that three-point shot, I firmly believe that if anybody challenged Jordan to just a three-point shootout, he'd probably win, just on the strength of his competitive nature. Because we all agree that he's not a three-point shooter. But look what he did in Portland in that playoffs. Set like a record at the time was a record. And that's a guy that doesn't shoot threes. And I think that that's his competitive GOAT nature kind of coming to the forefront at that point. Now, same thing with Kobe. I feel Kobe got challenged later in his career. People were criticizing his three-point ability. And this guy came out and all of a sudden you got to guard that three. So I don't think I see any weaknesses in them. And even if things were at 1 point weaknesses, they overcame that, which speaks to their greatness.
Just Kobe weakness.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Like you look at a dominant player like Shaquille O'Neal, like brick from the free throw line, right? Yeah. But he is still stat-wise and everything one of the most dominant players ever to at his position, right? I think what hurt Kobe Bryant a lot in this conversation is when they brought like the hockey and baseball analytics to the sport, right? And you really got to see, unfortunately, how inefficient Kobe Bryant's game was, right? I think that's what hurt him in his legacy as well. But we can, that's something that we can discuss at a next time too. But I didn't think that was really fair to Kobe, but it did pump up the LeBron argument because LeBron is a more efficient player.
Okay, Joss.
Yeah, I'm a Kobe fan, so there is no weaknesses. The weakness in his game, I would say, would be his trusting his teammates. That's his only weakness. If he had played with his team a little better, those inefficiencies that you talk about wouldn't be there. You know what I mean? So
that talks to his leadership.
Leadership there.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. But that has a direct on-court impact, though. That directly impacts the on-court game, though. So it could work.
Okay. So, guys, I want to ask you this, too. Would you say that Jordan played in a tougher era or had to play harder teams to get to the finals? Or would you say LeBron did?
Tougher era for sure.
Tougher era for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I say more physical.
Apple oranges.
Yeah.
So
which is the difference. That's the difference.
So does that equate for Jordan having a tougher season versus the LeBron? 'Cause I personally feel like the East is pretty weak. In all those years, LeBron kind of went to the finals, right? And if you look at Jordan, he went through Indiana, Detroit. You know what I mean? Cleveland.
No, the East back then was by far stronger. The East was stronger back. The East was actually stronger back then.
Right.
100%. The East was the better conference back then.
I can't forget the Knicks. He went through the Knicks.
The Knicks. Even the Cavs. Remember, he had struggles with the Cavs for a while too. So, so to answer your question, right? And I'm a millennial, so I'm growing up on the LeBrons and then the tail end of Jordan. I saw the tail end of Jordan and the birth of LeBron, right? So this is where I fall right into that pocket. And it's so relative to speak on how difficult the eras were, because you could argue that it was so difficult for LeBron because he just had shitty teams, or because matchup problems were an issue, or whatever the case may be. With Jordan, it was just the physicality and the idea that the talent level was such a wash across the board that you had close physical games where there wasn't much margins for mistakes and stuff like that. And that's where he propelled himself, where he just said, yo, if I could be better than everybody else, where everybody's kind of on that same level, get off me, So I think the eras were so different, but I think they both had difficulties for different reasons. It's tough.
Yeah, for sure.
And I agree, 100%. You only can play who you play. So when you compare eras, again, you just got to take it with a grain of salt. But at the same time, I think that physicality difference makes a big difference, where I could physically hand check you. I could physically put my hand on you. That changes how you get to the rim. And if you no longer have that toughness to get to the rim, you're never coming into that pain again, right? So that does have a big difference in how we play. The game now is all perimeter, shoot. Those games are a half court, you know what I mean? Half court and get to the hole. And if I could physically stop you, how are you going to adjust your game, right?
Okay, to that point, and I'm asking you this, Justin. This might be more for the LeBron fans. Do you think hand checking would affect LeBron's game, being as big and physical as he is?
there's guys who are going to transcend it no matter what era. LeBron is a Karl Malone with faster, more athletic. So you're never going to stop LeBron in any era. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter.
Right? Yeah, like that guy. When I saw
blows and still play, that's the question. But
right.
Never.
When I personally saw, like, if LeBron were to be drafted, I think back in the Jordan era, I think he probably would have been forced more so to play the 4, right? Yeah. He'd have probably been forced to play the 4 more. But I mean, yeah, like in any era, like he's Karl Malone, but with athleticism.
You know what I mean?
You know, like that's nuts. You're a football player in a basketball uniform, and you're getting, you know what I mean? You're mid-season, you could be like 3 bills coming down the court. No one's standing in front of you, you know? But I do think as well, you look at the players across too, players are a lot bigger. Players are a lot bulkier. You know what I mean? Like players, somatotypes have changed as well, right? So I think that you know, that's a factor as well. Jordan when he came into the league, he was just, you know, athleticism, his physique was nuts, right? Compared to his counterparts at the time, right? He had a great build. He was tall enough and small enough with muscle density, all that type of stuff. So when he got into the lane, he was able to bump with these guys, right? So and you know, he still took his lumps, but I mean, yeah, I agree with what Shaq said the other day too. Like if you flip it on its head now, what if Jordan was in this era, right? You know, he might average, you know, 50 a game with the fact that, you know, you kind of look at like without the hand checking and so forth with the type of style of play that he had, right? That's a possibility.
Yeah.
But I look at Kobe Bryant. I hated Kobe as a player. I always knew at the time when he was in the league, he and Jordan, that they were the greatest at the time, although LeBron coming for him. LeBron already passed Kobe. But the thing I got to agree with Kobe is like, it's so hard to compare the eras like what we're doing here today that, you know, you really got to talk about the GOAT of that era. And I've started to take on that mindset after I watched a couple of interviews before he passed. And I was like, you know, I get you, because the game has changed, right?
100%.
The game has changed. But LeBron's still coming for that ass. Don't get it twisted.
In like 10 years.
So before I wrap up this show, guys, I got to ask, who's on your Mount Rushmore? Tristan.
Nice. Oh, my gosh. Great question. My Mount Rushmore is Michael Jordan. No particular order, obviously. I don't know what the best spot on the Mount
I didn't want to ask orders because that will create another debate. But
okay, so and mind you, I'm gonna put LeBron on there because when it's all said and done, which it isn't, he is gonna be more than worthy, and he will be there. Will he be the GOAT? We don't know. Is he the GOAT right now? Tristan says no. But Jordan, LeBron, man, you know, I gotta put Wilt on there just because of the folklore and the legend status. And Bill Russell. Bill Russell's got to be on there. And, you know, if there has to be a coach on there, I'm putting Phil. I'm putting Phil as the coach. Sure. He's. So I'm going to go with Jordan, LeBron, Wilt, Bill Russell. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Mike, who you got?
Me?
Yep.
LeBron, James, 23. Okay, all right.
I was about to say, how many more names can he have?
I thought I was listening to Shannon Sharp.
All right, I got. You know, right now Jordan is at the top of the Mount Rushmore. LeBron number 2, Kobe at 3. I'd have to say at 4, I gotta put my boy AI in there, man. Allen Iverson. Wow. I gotta put a pound for pound, the toughest player. I gotta put Allen Iverson there as my number 4.
I can't even be mad at that.
And number 5, There's
only 4.
I don't think he gets a lot of credit.
There's only 4.
One more.
No, there's only 4.
Okay. And
there's only 4.
On Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, isn't
That's
there only
right.
4 guys?
That's true. That's true. Yeah, you're right. You're right. On the forehead. That's what I got.
Yeah, my Phil pick was just like added me being extra. You know, there's only 4.
Okay, there's 4.
Yeah.
Us.
Yeah.
Who you got?
Definitely gonna put Mike. I'm gonna put LeBron. I'm gonna put Magic Johnson on there. You know what I mean? Yeah. And of course,
The Cobes.
Kobe.
Hey.
Oh, rest in peace, Kobe. Hey, I just want to say this whole little episode here. Nobody said rest in peace to Black Mamba. You know, so rest in peace, Kobe, man. We talked about him a lot. We didn't say R.I.P. Rest in peace, Kobe. You know, I want to add on to say, I want to also say that I was never a Kobe fan, but if we're gonna talk greatness, he's definitely great, and he definitely elevated his status. Like, to me, top 10 all time, which is a huge deal. That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, for sure. For my Mount Rushmore, I've got Jordan, I've got Magic, I've got Kobe, and I gotta put in AI too, man. I gotta steal that pick, man.
And can't we just say that for a Mount Rushmore, at least you gotta have a title at Mount Rushmore? Come on.
I you know what though, but you know what? I agree with Mike, man. He was the tough for his size. And what he did in the league, man, he was tough, man.
You remember though?
It was like 6'3". It would have been a wrap for everyone, man.
Like maybe 140 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah. You remember though, and like people on my Mount Rushmore, they've added something or transcended the game to somewhere. You remember AI? They brought in the zone for this man.
Yeah. He was the culture changer.
For this guy.
Yeah,
right?
He changed the culture. Yeah, he changed the culture.
Yeah.
This has definitely been a great debate. I think we could go on for probably days, months on this debate. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for joining me today on this show of Duke Presents Unplugged, the Sports Edition. And I'll see you guys next week, man. We'll do it again.